Welcome to APL Spaces, our second show. We are joined by Propbase, Kevin, Hudson, and Jesse. Welcome, guys. Thanks for being with us. And today we're going to talk a little bit about your project, how you got here, and why you chose Aptos, and among a lot of other stuff. So maybe to start things off, I would like each one of you to introduce yourselves, if you like, in a few words, if you don't mind. Kevin, we can start with you.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Kevin Goos. I'm the founder and CEO of Propbase. And together here, joined with our leadership team.
Okay, Jesse, go ahead.
Great to meet you. Maybe I'll give a little few more details than Kevin. My name's Jesse, and I'm from the U.S. I'm a U.S. American, but I've actually lived, most of my life overseas, and I'm part of the founding leadership team here at Propbase, and my main focus is on the marketing and community side. Okay. Now, Kevin and I have known each other for like 13 plus years, actually, in Southeast Asia, so we go back, quite a while. My background is with building kind of digital platforms, specifically digital media platforms. I kind of work at the intersection between, technical, teams, product teams, digital marketing, and content strategy and community. And it's great to be here with you guys.
Yeah. Nice, thanks. Great to have you here as well. Hudson, go ahead, man.
Thanks, Afonso. Yeah, so thanks for having us here. Like Jesse, I am also American, but have lived in Southeast Asia for the last few years. I'm a tech strategist and early stage venture builder with particular expertise on e-commerce and marketplaces. Actually, when I moved here, I was involved in exiting one of the largest sort of secondhand marketplace sites in Thailand. And actually, that's where I met Kevin. So Kevin came on a couple months into that tenure. And he was in charge of basically building out our property vertical. So, I know Kevin is a guy that knows property from the very beginning. My background's also previously in investment management, especially in public equities and fixed income. And so kind of Propbase is a nice platform that brings kind of these different areas together, both my digital background as well as my sort of finance and investment background. And to me, it's exciting to kind of apply, blockchain, Web 3.0 to Web 2.0 or even non-digital businesses. And so I think that's what we're going to do with Propbase to improve and democratize the property investment experience. So looking forward to it.
Okay, nice. Nice. Thanks to all of you. And so you're kind of the founding team of Propbase, right? That's good to know, but we don't know what Propbase is yet. So maybe this one goes to Kevin. If you can describe Propbase in a short sentence, how would you do it?
Yeah, of course. So Propbase is a tokenized real estate investment platform featuring tokenized real estate assets. Users can come on the platform and they can buy and sell a fraction of the property. So the platform actually kind of solves three main issues facing the real estate investment area today. Those issues are, number one, low liquidity. So it's easy usually to buy a property, but it's hard to sell it. The second one is then high transaction fees. So a lot of times users or investors, when they want to sell a property, they have to pay a high fee to like a real estate agent or a broker in some way. And then the third one is then the high barrier to entry. And so our platform solves these three areas quite well. And it's kind of a growing trend in real estate investment worldwide. So tokenized real estate assets is growing in popularity and is becoming a dominant trend, especially in places like the United States and Australia, as well as the EU.
I was going to segue with that one, the growth potential of this industry, because I've seen that there's a lot of new projects with tokenized real estate coming out. So how do you see this potential for growth in this space?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, right? So when you're looking to buy property, right? If you're looking to buy like your initial home. It's a little bit of a different process than when you're looking to purchase, let's say, investment property. I mean, the due diligence process is different. When you're looking from an investment perspective, you're looking at kind of metrics. One is, is the asset going to appreciate in value? Is the area in which it's located attractive? Does it earn yield or in the form of like rental income? And so, from a real estate perspective, a lot of times, the way retail investors as well as even institutions look at it differently than, say, the traditional asset that you would buy as like a new home buyer along those lines.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
I'll add to that. Just
Mm-hmm.
Alfonso, to your question. I mean, I think tokenized real estate is a huge market, right? It's basically as big as the real estate market. Anything that's real estate can be tokenized, right? So it's basically $300 trillion plus globally, and it's going to be growing faster than what the market normally grows because this is a new technology. So so to us, if real estate grows 5 to 10% every year, this is easily 2, 3, however many times that. And I think that's what makes it exciting. So little of real estate is tokenized right now, probably less than $1 billion. So there's a long runway, and we think this is kind of the way that, whether it's ownership or investment, like Kevin was saying, this is going to change the game.
Sounds exciting. Sounds exciting for sure.
And I mean, it kind of goes back on, like, we all have backgrounds associated with marketplaces and prop tech. Specifically, like, my background is really focused around prop tech innovation, right? So as younger generations come up, and they're looking really for something new. They're looking for a new value-added proposition. And I guess, going back, what we've been doing over the last, 10 years is really just trying to innovate that industry. I myself, from a background perspective, have really, 3 main exits underneath my belt. One as a CEO and co-founder, as well as 2 as an employee. And really, where I was, even as an employee, I was really just the head of the organization, as kind of Hudson mentioned. And all 3 businesses, quite big in terms of what we were trying to achieve, as well as delivering product market fit, and also big in terms of size, right? So some of the businesses are really upwards of, like, Hudson and I work together in an organization around 400 people. Came in, set up real estate transaction business, and we're really looking at it from how can we provide this new value added proposition to consumers, right? And people who want to buy property but maybe haven't done it before. They want to invest in property, they haven't done it before. How can we provide that safe, kind of transparent way and streamline that process? And even Jesse and myself, we go way back 13 years. We were in Southeast Asia, but he saw myself kind of build a business in Cambodia, which I'm sure that you're familiar with, which was under the Century 21 brand. We were really trying to achieve the same thing there back in like 2012. A way to invest in property, especially for like international investors, how they can buy property transparently, and do it in such a way that is convenient for them. And so that's really, I mean, all of our backgrounds are largely like, you could say, marketplaces, online marketplaces, with my background really specific in prop tech innovation. And so we've kind of came together, and we've talked a lot about the problems that we've experienced before on the platforms that we've built. And as we've scaled those platforms, we kind of arrive realistically at the same problem. And that is, just take, for example, if we're doing 1,000 transactions a year, and the next year we want to scale to 2,000 transactions, what we found is, like, we needed to onboard, maybe another 80, 100 team members, from just back office operations. And so even in terms of building out products such as SaaS-based systems or workflow modules that integrate with like various third parties, like this could be, the real estate agents, the buyers, the sellers, as well as, incorporating like home loan officers and escrow agents, right? we
Mm-hmm,
still had
mm-hmm.
a fundamental problem, right? There still needed to be this transaction process, which was heavy and it took a long time, right? I mean, even in the best case, you're looking at somewhere around the lines of maybe 2 weeks or 8 weeks, really, if there's any kind of lags in the process. So even if you
Mm-hmm.
digitalize the process, you still have this time gap of many weeks and a lot of processes involved. So Propbase, we understand that, our backgrounds really come from, we understand what real estate investors are looking at, what they want. And so our objective was to develop a platform that meets those demands and kind of solves those problems for those, whether it be retail investors or institutions or small businesses that are
Mm-hmm.
looking to have the benefits of property ownership, but yet want the freedom to sell that asset or liquidate that asset and turn it into cash and then use it either in their business or for other purposes, but yet
Okay.
have the benefits, right? And so that's kind of the overall objective and mission and what we're passionate about in building.
Awesome, awesome to hear. And you mentioned there are the problems that you want to solve. So before in the first question, you were mentioning low liquidity, right?
Yeah,
So
correct.
and high fees, and the third one was
High barrier to entry.
exactly high barrier to entry. So you need a lot of cash at hand or something, and it's not an easy process, right? So these are the problems. If you want to expand a little bit on them, and then kind of going to the solutions that you are proposing to solve these problems.
So
Yeah, of course.
maybe I can jump in and talk about
Yeah.
the third
Sure.
one. I'll start at the end with the high barrier to entry.
Okay.
So real estate has been a great asset class for people who want to build wealth over time. But it's fairly expensive to get in on the ground floor, right? So it's not been accessible to everybody. So using our unique tech-driven approach, what we're doing is we're breaking down that barrier to entry, making it democratizing it, so that more and more people can get into property investment. And the fact that it's more liquid, that it's tokenized and fractionalized, means that more and more people can get involved in that story. That also adds to the growth potential to the business, because we can reach more and more people with this type of investment opportunities. I think that's a really strong thing that we have going on our level.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll add to what Jesse's saying. I mean, I come from an investment management background, and we used to tell people you should own 10% real estate in your portfolio, and really the way you do that is normally if you have that, it's because you bought a house. But honestly, that's not a manageable way for most people to get in, get their foot in the door unless you have a lot of money lying around.
Yeah.
So when we talk about a solution, Propbase, we're going to make it so that if you have $100, you can buy a fractionalized piece of a property, which means it's easy for you to get into real estate, right? You're not buying a whole house. You're buying a small part of a house or of a commercial property or whatever it is. So that's us cutting out the high barrier to entry. Us making it a token makes it easy to buy and sell.
Yeah.
And ultimately, because we're going to be doing this through blockchain powered technology, it's eliminating the fees, because a lot of the fees in the platform really come from when you buy and sell a house, there's like tons of paperwork, and I actually have to pay money to process all of that paperwork to register with different agencies. So we're going to make that a painless process as much as possible.
Cool. No, because that's funny that you're mentioning that you mentioned that 10% of your portfolio should be in real estate. That's awesome, but like a house costs like 150,000. Unless you have 1.5 million, how are you going to do that, right? You need to start from the low side, and it's not an easy thing to do.
No, exactly. It's not common.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
nice, but not everyone
Yeah.
has that.
But it's the perfect solution, but it's not easy to achieve. So
And yeah, you're right. Most people they just don't have that budget, right? And so they're just right now they can't access real estate as an investment class. And
mhm.
so I think there is a growing trend. I mean, Afonso, we've caught up before, and we just came off that blockchain conference. The growing trend was really around real estate tokenization of securities, tokenization of physical assets, and so that in and of itself is really a way going forward, and the value added benefits from blockchain, like what we see from our perspective, is it really boils down to the utilization of smart contracts and the functionality of updating things such as the membership list associated with that physical assets ownership, right? And how that membership list is updated through smart contracts is what allows us to really streamline the process. So for tokenizing of assets, there's a lot of ways that you can do it, and as you alluded to, there's multiple platforms around the world. Some are very successful in the United States. Propbase is really the only platform featuring tokenized real estate assets, mainly in here in Southeast Asia. And so but our approach is let's say a bit different, right? One is we incorporate blockchain. We utilize smart contracts and designed specifically for what I think smart contracts are meant to be utilized for, which is the reduction of, let's say, administrative laborious costs, right? Of hiring people, paying salaries, having a back end office operation that is used to process these redundant tasks, right? And so from our perspective, right? So we take the asset, we run a full due diligence process on it. We're largely working with new real estate developments, so we don't have to deal with like legacy issues such as land or something along the lines of this. And we basically put that asset into an LLC, and then we tokenize it and put it on the platform, and it goes through a initial, like a, you could almost say like a fundraising process, where if it reaches that soft cap, and we as a platform, we don't buy the properties, fix them up, or buy them and sell them onto the platform. So we're an independent marketplace. So
Okay.
our incentivization is kind of aligned with that of the end investor, right? So we need the property to be successful. So we're looking for the best quality assets. We're negotiating things like the best price, and doing it in a really transparent way, as well as from a documentation perspective, making sure everything is there. So as we're building on the Aptos blockchain, and utilizing, a blockchain that's kind of designed specifically for smart contracts, we also incorporate IPFS, which is where a lot of our document storage is there. So individual investors, people who come onto our web-based platform, they can basically run the due diligence process on their own. We even provide things like links to the developer website. There's other property portals that we would suggest so that they can run a kind of a due diligence process that would be acceptable, and come to the same conclusion that we have as the platform, right? Where we believe that it's a good investment, and then going through a funding process, and then shortly after that, then the tokens can be bought and sold between prop-based users, and so that's the liquidity proposition.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And you mentioned securities there, and it's always a word that scares a lot of people because because of the SEC issues with back in the U.S. You guys have thought about the legal hurdles that you might face and how you're going to tackle them?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that was probably one of the earlier stages that we looked at back in this summer. So I think before really coming into the first part was, can we do what we're trying to achieve from a legal and regulatory framework, right? And it ranges across countries. We're kind of located here in Southeast Asia, more specifically Thailand. And so we did the process, and the answer is yes. What we want to achieve, we can. In terms of that, though, from being trying to look at, okay, we want to look at this from a global perspective. From our perspective, like, we're putting together initial prospectus. Things like putting together and getting a securities license is not necessarily out of reach for us. I mean, it just takes a
Okay.
little bit additional time. But for us, we're looking at running through that process, as well as going through the hurdles from a country to country basis. However, tokenization has been around for quite a long time. It's not necessarily new. So the
Yeah, yeah.
tokenization of assets is fairly straightforward in most of the countries that we're looking to enter. I would say it would be. I mean, even in Europe, tokenization of assets is quite common now. It's been around for a long time. The United States as well. And so, yeah, I would say before that we've given that a huge consideration, and have already started down the legwork of making sure no matter what we're fully compliant through all legal and regulatory framework from in the
That's
country that we operate, specific to where that asset is. So it's not just if another asset in another country, we would also have to enter into that asset. And it's lucky for us that within the region we do have multiple countries, but Singapore for us is also a hub that we can kind of focus out of. So a lot of legwork that we do in Singapore can also be applied in Thailand, vice versa, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, and other countries.
that's what you want to hear, right? You're all set up and you've done your homework. That's awesome.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, look, there's really quite a few parts of the business, right? And so,
yeah,
I mean, and one of the reasons what makes it difficult is you have to have really that experience in real estate. You have to have the experience in tech. You have to have the experience in finance. And so, our leadership team combined with a small technical team below us, as well as mentioning we have a great team of part-time individuals. We probably have what I think is the best moderator team in any project across all Web3,
nice,
and
nice.
we've answered all those questions. So like for any community members who really want to come in, they're serious. They're looking at us for either personal use or for their company, or maybe they do this for a living. We've definitely even in our website we've provided a very detailed, frequently asked questions and answered specifically related to these questions, and as rightful so for any company that tokenizes assets, we would expect a high level of due diligence.
Okay, okay, nice to hear. Of course. Now going a little bit onto the audience and the target that you wanna kind of go for. I think Jesse, this might be better suited for you. What is the target audience? Are you going for crypto people, for real estate people, a mix of both, maybe?
Yeah, well, as we mentioned earlier, the mission is to kind of democratize investment, in this asset class using this technology. And, so anybody from, say, as low as $100 can get in on really exciting property investment opportunities. In that sense, we want this to be for the widest possible audience, to bring in all kinds of investors, right? Bring all kinds of investors on board, including members of the broader crypto community, and even other, more traditional, let's say, small ticket investors who may be buying today stocks, bonds, other asset classes, right? Having said that, we are launching here, as part of the Aptos community, which we're really excited to be in. So we foresee that a lot of our early, users will be part of the Aptos community. So we're kind of giving you guys the first shot, and we're really excited to be welcoming you guys on. Over time, we do hope to expand that to a much larger community, including even people who are not yet engaged in the crypto space. So we start here with the Aptos, and then we go much further to a much wider audience.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? You start with a crypto space, you prove that it works, and then everyone else
Mm-hmm.
will have a piece of it, right? That's how
Yeah,
it works.
and also inherently to our model, I mean, because of the nature of our utilization of blockchain, because we're issuing out, a native token, there's a utility for the native token, and then getting that working during like Q1, Q2, that's our main focus. And then once we have, full platform launch, is then to really go after, like, let's say, real estate investors who are familiar with the space, who've been doing it, and we've got the right value proposition down.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned the token, well, I believe it's the prop token, right?
Yeah, correct.
Can you explain a little bit of its use case, what it is used for, and how it works with a real estate investment?
Yeah, so the prop token is a uniform method of settlement for all smart contract interaction. So when A user comes on, they want to buy a fraction of a property. They could buy maybe example 3 tokens. The fee to process that on the blockchain is paid in props. And so it is a de facto, let's say, method for all interaction with smart contracts across the platform. In addition to that, we have a rewards protocol where we have 35% of our total supply that is allocated for incentivizing early users, new adopters, people to use the platform. We're not necessarily as focused on airdrops per se. We're more focused on creating an incentivization to interact, set up your profile, create properties for listings, buy and sell tokens of properties, and get traffic onto the platform. That seems the biggest kind of benefit for early community participants. So that's kind of where we're focused. We also have a membership options where people can get reduced fees. So there is fees for selling tokens on the platform. Nothing like selling the entire property. So we charge a minimum of 1%. In terms of getting a reduction of fees, then that is also can be done through a 3 membership tiers. Yeah.
Okay, sounds nice. Great overview of the token. And can you expand a little bit more on that and explain to us how you went for this kind of tokenomics that you have on your website?
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
maybe I can hop in on that one. So just picking up from what Kevin was saying, we really believe that the pop token is what's going to power the platform. That's how you settle transactions. That's what you're going to be using to basically buy and sell the tokenized properties. And so for us, that ties into our tokenomics in that we really believe that this is a project that's for everyone, that's democratizing real estate transactions. And so that's why for tokenomics, like Kevin mentioned, we allocated 35% to the rewards protocol. We actually allocated 20% to crowdfunding. And, actually, this is a lot more than probably other projects would allocate onto sort of the mass public. But for us, it's just showing that we're kind of all in on what we think is the mission, which is just making property investment, accessible. And we want everyone to be excited and be part of that. So, to us, the tokenomics are really us putting our tokens where our mouths are. And, as opposed to like other projects where maybe you have private placements and, it's easier than for us to talk to a couple of, shareholders or token holders, but, we'd prefer to, work with the community and really, really have our mission be expressed through the tokenomics as well. We also have a 10% liquidity pool allocation in preparation for launching on multiple dexes as well. So I think this is, again, we're really expecting and hoping and pushing for this to become something that has real utility for a lot of people across a lot of platforms, and we're making sure that the tokenomics support that growth trajectory.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Great explanation in detail. And so you are launching an Aptos. Can you kind of summarize why you chose Aptos? You mentioned it a little bit, Kevin, a while back, but is the move language a factor? And why do you need a blockchain at all? Like, could you do this without a blockchain? And what would be the downsides of doing without a blockchain?
So blockchain and the development of a native token is inherently an integral part into our business. We can't achieve what we want to achieve from a liquidity and custody perspective for the end user without that functionality. It doesn't work, right? So even if we were to create a SaaS-based workflow platform, it doesn't create the solution that blockchain provides. In terms of Aptos, we looked at, I guess you could say, a various, being familiar with really all the layer 1 solutions, and myself obviously familiar with Solidity, and then one of our developers with a background in Rust Aptos launching at the time, as well as you guys, APLaunch coming on board. We looked at it, and from our perspective, there's a few things that we really enjoyed. One was obviously they have their more advanced in terms of programming language, which would be Mood, which from our perspective and a documentation perspective has an easy onboarding process for new developers, especially ones that, from us, we have a very strong background in building Web 2 based businesses, or you could say Web 2 based, Web 2.5 businesses, but Web 3.0 businesses for us, in getting that documentation as well as that support is integral in deploying and setting up smart contracts, right? That featured with, obviously running a due diligence on Aptos. The community is quite large from an infrastructure perspective. There's a lot of wallets. There's a lot of users. There's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of projects now building on Aptos. And given the nature of the environment with other layer one solutions, they've got great tech. I'm not saying anything about them, but we just think that Aptos kind of has everything that we as a project need, and that gives us the security in order to build our project. And for us, we only need one blockchain, right? We don't need to bridge between multiple blockchains. What we need to make sure is that there's that the layer one solution, in our case Aptos, that we're building on has doesn't go down. So they've got that problem fairly solved through parallel batch optimized processing, where even if one transaction doesn't go through, you still have transactions that can be processed post execution, right? And in addition to that, you also have a proven track record of upgradability. And just really we're kind of scratching the surface, but they can upgrade because they have really good modularized architecture, and that architecture allows for them to continue to evolve that layer one solution to make sure that it's competitive 2023, make sure it's continuing to be there 2024, and that's what we as a project feel the security and the safety to build on. And great documentation, and we're just scratching the surface. We know that they've got a lot of other tools, such as the move prover and stuff, but from a basic functionality and what we need in terms of smart contract functionality, it suits everything that we need, and the onboarding process as well as the communities there, and then obviously support from your technical team as well, kind of creates this really good recipe for us to safely launch and deploy smart contracts, as well as have a good time in order to test that functionality and to get it out and get feedback from the community. Because what we're doing is quite important, and but we have a good structure set up quite enough, and we have good familiarity with like the Aptos CLI and submitting and deploying contracts and testing out functionality. We've been doing that over the last let's say several weeks.
Yeah, the framework and the infrastructure on Aptos is crazy, right? It just blew up so fast, and it's amazing to be building on it because there's a lot of directions you can look at to get some info on whatever you need to know. So I agree and understand what you're saying. Even though it's a great community to build, the market itself for all crypto is a little bit on the down right now. Why did you decide to launch anyway and go ahead at this moment?
Well, I'll chime in quickly on that. I mean, just inherently because of our model, our full objectives is really to get up and running as soon as possible. I mean, we're incentivized to get real estate assets on platform and trading at its soon as possible time, and in doing so in a safe and transparent way that is in line with all legal and regulatory framework. So as long as we're doing that and following, let's say the milestones that we have set, we're not as dependent upon, let's say, price action, right? I mean, we'd love for price to go up. We'd love for things to recover and everything to go great, but it's not a stopper or break our business model because of the nature of what we're doing. And I don't know if you wanted to add on to that, Hudson or Jesse.
Yeah, I think to Kevin's point, I think that what we're trying to do there, it's a good time to do it as long as the main pain that we're trying to solve exists. And for us, it's that people can't invest in real estate easily. It's not really about crypto markets being up or down. I think it's about, is what we're trying to do something that makes life better for a lot of people? And we still think the answer is yes. So right now, it's like I said, it's still hard to actually have your portfolio be 10% real estate or anything real estate unless you have a lot of money to invest. And so as long as that's true, I think what we're building is going to be very valuable. I think right now with crypto markets being on the fritz, you want to be able to invest in assets that are pretty resistant in a down market. So actually, even more than ever, you want real estate in your portfolio. And so I'd say, we want to keep our heads down and build this out. It happens to share, the background of blockchain, but we're not trying to build something that doesn't have a real backing. This is real estate. We're really just using blockchain because a lot of real estate is about contracts, and blockchain makes contracts easier. So ultimately,
that's the whole point of blockchain.
That's right.
That's the whole point of blockchain, to bring utility, a new kind of utility to the real life use cases, right? It's just that it started out with dog coins and things that are not very worth it.
There's no Doge behind our coin.
Exactly. While the real builders are trying to figure out how to use it to get real utility to people, right? And this is how you are coming in, and how new builders are coming on and figuring this out. So if you don't really care about the market conditions because you have real utility, that makes sense. So when can you expect the IDO to start?
Well, I mean, we have it kind of stated in our timeline. We would love it to be, ideally in Q1 of 2023. That's kind of what we've been thinking for the last 6 months. We don't see any major change to the timeline that we set out, which is highlighted in our website as well as in our white paper and all of our technical documents. We're still just looking at that timeline, and so we're looking at Q1 2021. We're looking at full platform launch in Q1 2023, and then full platform launch in Q2 2023.
Okay. Amazing. So just to wrap things up a little bit, how would you say you stand out against your competition right now? Because there's a lot of people doing the same or similar stuff, let's say. So tokenized real estate. How do you stand out?
I mean, I can take that question. I know that Hudson also probably has a few comments. In terms of how do we stand out? Well, it has to do with the necessarily one. Obviously, geographically, we're the only ones doing it geographically within the region. But more importantly, associated with our model. And I can't speak to necessarily other tokenized real estate platforms, but a lot of them don't use blockchain. That's number one. A lot of them have, if they do use blockchain, it's not necessarily in the way of which we're using blockchain. So there's not necessarily that liquidity problem. So there's a lot of tokenized real estate platforms out there. They're very good. They're very great, but it's very difficult for tokenized platforms to have kind of 5 to 15 minute liquidity from purchasing a token to actually listing it on the marketplace and reselling it. And then to have that minimum buy-in, right? So we've looked at it and how we can get it down to the lowest possible amount. For us, we're starting with $100. There's lots and lots of tokenized real estate platforms out there, but they're $5,000 for the minimum buy-in. They're $1,000 or $3,000. So we're able to do it. There are a few tokenized real estate platforms out there which are similar to us, but they're not in our geographical region. I know that they're US based. Focusing on assets there. We're largely just focused here, and really our whole area of expertise in terms of team, in terms of our backgrounds, my background, having real estate as well as technical skills is really what sets us apart. And then we built these successful businesses before. So this isn't our first or second rodeo. We might look like young guys, but we've been doing business for a while. So this is my fourth iteration after 3 exits. Hudson's been involved in very, very large transactions associated with online tech platforms. Jesse's also led multiple businesses in excess of a few hundred people. So we know how to scale up. So competition in our eyes is actually really good. There's so much real estate in the world, and if what we see is the same as what other people begin to see in the future, that this is a growing trend, then it's not a competition against other platforms. It's a competition against ourselves and how well we can execute. And so that's our underlying, I guess, ethos is focusing
Nice.
on execution. Yeah.
Nice.
I just want to
Good
add
answer.
two small things on top of that. I think
Of course.
Kevin is being humble, but I actually think he's a unique value proposition for what we're doing, just because he's worked with a lot of developers, he's worked with the ecosystem, and actually, if you're talking about a platform like this, there's the buyers, there's the investors, but there's the supply side. How do you get properties on the platform?
Yeah.
And I think that Kevin has a unique perspective working with developers and knowing how our solution will actually help solve their pain, which is how to sell something. So that's a big one. And just one last one is, I don't think anyone else is taking the approach of like a truly Web3, having a token be the way that you engage a community and get people on board the platform. I think it's not the same as just purely using blockchain, right? So, I think what we're trying to do is, again, it's really trying to talk about real democratization of real estate investment. And it starts with the token and then continues through that transaction from there.
Awesome. Great to hear, guys. Lovely answers. And I want to thank you again for being here. We are at our limit now. We need to wrap it up. And only before you go, I want to ask, how can people get in touch with you? Ask you questions. How can they engage, get whitelists, all of that? How do they do it?
Thanks, Afonso. Maybe I take this one, and I hope you'll drop some links in the description for this video.
Absolutely.
So anybody who's watching can join our Discord server. They can hop on our Telegram. They can reach out to us. They can check out our website. We've heard a lot of good feedback about people checking out the website, the white paper, the light paper. So we really encourage everybody to take part there. So come find us on our channels. We will be in touch. As Kevin mentioned, we have a great bunch of colleagues in moderation who are there to answer your questions. So it's all there online. Look for the description of this video and come join us. Look forward to having you on board.
Awesome, man. Guys, thanks a lot for being with us. It's been a pleasure. We can't wait to launch you guys. I love your project. I think I love real estate, and I love crypto. So I think this is a great combination. And I hope we can catch up soon after your IDO or something and see how things are going. Maybe get a sneak peek of the platform, see what you're doing on the technical side. And let's keep doing this. And for everyone watching, thanks a lot. Don't forget, if you're a project, come talk to us, and we can do this interview. We can launch you, and let's keep rolling. Again, thanks, guys, and see you soon.
Thanks, Afonso.
Thanks, Afonso.
Yeah.
Thanks.